I always have to test to make sure that it's like really happening, that we're really live. Okay, perfect. Okay. Hey, everybody. All right. So we are doing this live hot seat coaching, talking about creating that story. One of the prompts that I gave you guys a while, I think it was last week, was really creating a story about your ideal client versus your just typical, I help female entrepreneurs in business. I help people get unstuck. I really want you to be able to create this story behind, because the stories obviously are what make people connect to you, right? And creating that story can be very difficult, except for a lot of you. And so sometimes just having somebody else listen and ask questions. So what I'm going to do during this live hot seat with Sarah is I'm going to ask her some questions. I'm going to just write things down, and you're going to see the shift that we make, because as I write them down and I hear them, we're going to talk, and hopefully you'll see the shift into the I help this person versus here's the problems that they're coming with, here's how they're feeling. Because remember, you want to tap into those emotions. And the best analogy that I can give you for this before we dive in is the analogy of the person that goes and buys like a new picture, right? You buy a new picture and you want to put it on the wall, but yet then all of a sudden you get home and you don't have the right tools. So you go and you go to Home Depot or you go to Lowe's and you say, I need X, Y, and Z to get this picture on the wall. The reality is that your problem is not the fact that you don't have the tools. The problem is you want your damn picture on the wall, but you don't have the tools to help you get there. So it's really trying to find the story of like, what's the picture on the wall, right? Like, what is the pain point for your ideal client? You are the tools that are going to help them get there. But so often we talk a lot about the tools and not necessarily all of the pain points and the emotions and what they're trying to get at. So anyways, hey, Sarah, how are you? Thank you so much for being here with me today. I'm so excited. So let's dive in a little bit. So for those of you, Sarah and I were just chatting quickly prior to jumping in here live, and Sarah is in a place of pivot, a little bit in a shift in her business from working with a client that went kind of sour and toxic, which we've all been there. I hope maybe not all of us have been there, but a lot of us have been there. And now we are working through this pivot to really define who she wants to work with. So Sarah, tell me a little bit more, like you were just saying, you want to become the quote unquote jack of all trades, but let's talk about that client. Let's talk about who they are, what you want to do, what you bring to the table.
Okay. So in my previous role, I had started off just as a content writer. They approached me for blogs, maybe some email funnels, services like that. I found myself with a startup, and they didn't have marketing people, or if they did, it was shifting, startup culture and all that. The problem that they faced, and I'm noticing it across the board. I work with the cannabis industry for people who are not familiar. A lot of startups kind of need somebody who can do a broad list of skills. So that's the Jill of all trades, but they need a master of one or two, whatever their goals and their focus is. So my pivot is to become, I don't know if the best title is a digital marketer or a content marketer. There's a massive overlap there. I'm still trying to sort that out. Who is also able to write. So I've been upskilling as I step back. I'm reevaluating how I present myself to clients. And now it's a matter of framing what I am capable of doing and what do I focus on to catch ones that value the skill sets I have, and there's many, without, put frankly, underpaying or overstressing me. If I wanted to be underpaid and super stressed, I would have stayed a teacher. So.
Exactly. Okay, so what you're seeing in the industry, the people that are coming, you're saying like they need a Jill of all trades and a master of a couple. Like, what are they
Mhm.
What's been the struggle when you were just writing content for them? Where was the struggle coming into play? Like you're creating content and then it's not getting used because they have no idea what to do with it? Is it that it just they don't have the capacity to actually execute on it?
A bit of both of those. So a lot of them, at least the ones I've worked with, they don't have a background in marketing, or if they do, it's in more traditional marketing. It's not so much the digital world, and it's certainly not a background in writing. Um, so I would present pieces that, at least in my mind, and I'll admit, people can disagree, of course, pieces that would hit the purpose, the voice, the requirements they're looking for, whatever the length was, all of that. And the COO or CEO, whoever I was working with, would like it one day and then not like it the next. And they just want to get something up there and have no direction. And that's intellectual whiplash for me. And it became emotional whiplash when they got mean about it. That's the toxic part. But it was also frustrating because they weren't listening to somebody who understands the strategy piece behind it and understands people and communicating at different levels, like certain words you use, all this other stuff. And quite frankly, they were not dialed in to the digital realm. And that was a problem as well. So it's a little different when I've worked with people who have a background in marketing because they understand what goes in behind the scenes. But most of them don't. They're, I don't know, operators or founders who have maybe more of an MBA kind of education, less on the marketing side.
Okay. So your ideal client, the person that you really want to work with in the cannabis industry, what are they coming to the table with? They have a product, a brick and mortar store, they have an online store, is this cannabis meaning CBD and the THC product or just the CBD? Does it not matter?
I work ideally with either of those, CBD or THC. My bigger focus is more the values of the business and who's kind of on the team. Like, the cannabis industry has been basically gentrified
Mm-hmm.
as it's become legal, and there's not enough people of color, not enough queer folks, not enough women who are able to get a foothold. There's grants now for funding to start different types of businesses, be it growing, processing, shop fronts, accessories. It's pretty broad, but they're hard to get. And then you wind up with people who get the grant and they need somebody who's willing and able to join a team of two, a founder and a co-founder, and get them off the ground and get the momentum going. Ideally, that's pretty well who I'd want to work with. People who are of those categories. I'm into myself, a queer woman, who are trying to get in and have somebody who's willing to work with them and also knows how to navigate. What do they call them? The boat shoe chads? I think it's what some of the people in the industry call the ones coming in from like big banks and stuff.
Really? Okay.
There's like, oh yeah, oh yeah. And then you have also the legacy market, which is people who are participating before it was legalized. So there's like this weird tension, and then you add people who are left out historically anyway. But I want to support them. It could be a mom who's got a CBD business and has finally seen some success and is really ready to grow. There was a New Jersey-based processing, like boutique craft cannabis-based THC product processing company that I'd like to work with. The one more recently was actually service-based and not product-based. It was kind of like a curated shopping service, which was also good. And the other piece that I'm looking for are folks that have a decent ethical and moral compass. So they're patient minded, They don't want to lie in their marketing. Probably don't want to put on dangerous products and stuff like that.
Okay. Talk a little bit about your experience. You said like you've been on this side of it. You are your ideal client. Let's talk about that. Like what are some of the things that you've come up against, and how has that affected you from being on the consumer side of it or being in your industry? Let's talk about that, because those are the things that are really going to attract your ideal client, right? Because you can say, I've been there, I get it, I understand. So what are those pain points? Like, what are the things you've come up against?
On the customer perspective, as a consumer, I ran into problems where information is disjointed. So you have street slang meets science terms, and they're not explaining either or how they relate. So you walk into, say, a dispensary, and a lot of dispensaries, at least here in Florida, it is different in other places. Florida is one of the worst for patients. You walk in and there's not a whole lot of educational materials. You kind of have to rely on the bud tender behind the counter, and that's dangerous territory because now they're giving medical advice and they're not medical professionals. You have this tension between people who are very anti-cannabis, and then you have like the drug war era, the reefer madness type attitude. But then you also have people who are basically selling it as a snake oil. It cures everything. And there's very little nuance in between. And that's what I needed as a consumer. I needed to be able to understand what the plant was. Outdated terms like indica and sativa, that doesn't mean much medically. It just doesn't. Right. But they still use it everywhere. And people rely on that, and it's being pushed. So that on the consumer end, that was a problem. And then breaking in as a professional in the industry, and I went directly to marketing. I did not work as a bud tender or try to open brick and mortar. There's a lot of blustery, very confident people, mostly men, who dominate the arena, online and off. And some of them are very good. They're good at what they do, and they also try to pull others in so that there is a more diverse population. And I've aligned myself with them professionally. That's what I'm looking for. But then there's a lot of others who push the sales and will drown out anybody who's saying, well, wait a second, I understand there's a lot of benefits here. People like me really do benefit from these products, but you have to say the risk too.
Right. Okay. And I think there's a couple key points here that I think are worthwhile for you to touch on when it comes to your marketing. One is that this disjointed piece of you as a marketer. So you're coming in as a professional to your clients, right? And not only as somebody who can help them with the marketing aspect, but you can help them explain. You can take their business, right, and explain it to a consumer in a way that makes sense, right? Because you're right, the consumer industry, if you're new to this industry, you don't know all these medical terms. I have a friend here locally who is a commercial grower, and the way he speaks, within 3 seconds, I've shut down. I'm like, just tell me what I need to make my neck stop hurting. So one of the things that I think is really important for you in your client's story to use right here is to make this easy to understand. I want to help you explain your business in terms that your consumer can understand, that stand within integrity, right? Because those are things that are important, right? You want to make sure that you're not lying, that your consumer can understand it, that they're getting the information they need in a way that they can understand, not just talking over their head to a point where they just say, yeah, okay, that sounds great, right? You want them to be able to make that educated decision. So I think that's something really, really important for you when you're talking about your ideal client, is that's a pain point they have. They don't know how to make their consumer understand what it is that they need and feel comfortable and feel like they are making an educated decision versus just trusting that, hey, by the way, you're getting the best product out there. Number two is, like I said, you've been on both sides, the consumer and the professional side. So you understand that there's men, or there's an industry, there's a certain demographic that tends to dominate this industry. So you can talk about aligning yourself with, I have aligned myself with, I know how to speak above the noise. I know how to make sure you stand out above the noise, above the crowd, and let them, to make sure that their voice is getting heard, right? Like that's what you're trying to do, is make sure that their voice is getting heard, and you being able to use your stories and making sure that you, like you said, you're talking about making sure you're aligning with the right people in that arena, making sure that you're speaking to the client. Do you feel like from a marketing perspective and what you're bringing to the table as a writer to that industry is that your experience as a consumer really plays a role in this?
I would say so. A lot of what I've done and different stances I take with my content creation, say on LinkedIn, are heavily informed by where I've been as a consumer from different angles. As a teacher, watching teenagers who think they're real slick get involved, and it's dangerous because of developmental issues, while also trying to navigate having a young child at home who has not crashed this yet somehow, and the legalities around that. One of the biggest concerns I have as a medical patient who's also a parent of a young kid is somebody fraudulently calling, CPS, because it's still federally a Schedule I substance. And I know that I am not the only parent, particularly ones who are new to the industry. I'm not talking legacy parents here. I'm not the only one that has that worry. And then you add the teacher angle again, where there's all these professions and professionals that would benefit immensely from different products. And they can't navigate it legally because they have their federal funding. So they don't even want to touch it because it risks their license. Even if it's not enforced in some areas, it's still a risk. And I know how to talk to those people.
Which people is that? Is it the client that would hire you, or the consumer?
The consumer. And I can kind of connect that with the client that would hire me. And some of them are people who fall under the umbrella of the same as the consumer as well. They're trying to get in.
Right. So I think that right there, like you're saying, like this point right here, the worry, the CPS worry, the job, like understanding how is this going to affect my professional career, being able to speak that language from your own experience, right? Like that from a content, because again, you're talking about paying clients. So yes, you're in the industry, but we're talking about those dream clients that want to hire you as this Jill of all trades. What are the 3 things or 4 things that are really, really important to you that you can use in your content? Is one, like, I understand and I can speak to and really talk to your ideal client of either teachers or moms or this or that. Like, so maybe your ideal client is the client that wants to target that market, right? The moms with young children at home, the teachers, the professionals, any professional career. I spoke to actually just recently my stepdaughter about it because she has a lot of inflammation issues. And from my understanding, it would be very beneficial to her, but she's a nurse. And that's her biggest concern is how do I make sure that this is not going to affect my nursing license? I don't know. You can very easily talk to people and sell that for them, right? Like the whole goal for your clients and what you're bringing to the table is for them to be able to sell their product with integrity. That I think is probably one of the biggest things that you need to bring to the table, is that you can help them sell with integrity, knowing that you are there to protect the consumer and that they have the consumer's best interest in mind. And you can bring your experience, all of everything that you've brought to the table. So the values, right? When you talk about integrity, you want to help your clients that you want to serve and write for and market for are people in the industry that want to go above and beyond, that truly believe in the medicinal effects of this, that truly believe in making sure their clients are well educated, that truly believe that their clients have the right to have access to this information in a way that they can understand. And you can do that because you've been on both sides.
I'm writing this down before I forget, because I will forget that mom brain is some serious stuff.
Well, good. Luckily for you, this is live, so you'll be able to watch the. But does that make sense? Does that help being able to
It does, yes.
bring that to the table? Because when you can talk about those key points, the consumer that's in the market looking for that marketer. But now that's some of the values that they bring. But let's talk about how now you can help them do that, like from that marketing perspective. Okay, so now you've got this kind of this definition to use in the client story. The client story being like you're in the cannabis industry, whatever, however you want to talk about that, and you understand it's important to you to make sure that your consumers have access to this, to understand that they're not going to lose their professional career, to understand that CPS is not going to come in, to understand that they can feel better, right? So there's all of those things because you can speak to that. But now, how do you actually help them execute on it? Because again, like you said, they're startups, they're new, they don't have this marketing knowledge. So what is it that you're going to help them do from a marketing perspective that you can then turn into a story? Like, what is it? Is it understanding the digital space? Is it getting their voice out there? Like, what part of that are you seeing as a need?
So the first thing I do, one of the pivot pieces, is adding a road mapping session for each incoming client. And given that most of them are probably startups or small businesses or fledgling businesses, it's going to be highly customizable to where they're trying to go. But I'll ask them a series of basic branding questions, the goals, who are they trying to talk to, similar to what you're doing with me now. Mm-hmm. It's much easier to do it with other people than with myself.
Absolutely.
And walk them through all of that. And then as we go through the session, I'll be introducing questions that kind of touch on where they're at, what their resources are, what their barriers are, their values, and where they're trying to go. And they'll receive, at the very least, a very clear kind of the roadmap, the report afterwards that they'll get. And they can either continue with me or take it to somebody else. They've already paid for that. And just based on what I've done before, my guess is that it's going to be a little bit of branding, a little bit of web UX design and building, and then a lot of copywriting and content for the foundational pieces that get somebody noticed in a digital space. So their website, landing pages, sales pages, building an email list to nurture and get their name out there, maybe some social media, depending on who their ideal clients are. So it's a little variable, but I can do all of that. I have the ability to do all of that in the skill set. I wish I had a clear answer on that one, but
I'm gonna help you get there. Okay. So the road mapping session again is the tool. So I want you to think about it from that perspective. The road mapping session and all of that, that's the tool. That's how you help them do it. That's them going to Home Depot and saying, I need a 3/8 drill bit to hang this picture, right? Okay, so what is their picture? Like, what are they coming to the table with when they are out actively searching? Like, where are they feeling right now? When they come to you, what are they feeling in that moment? What is it that they're feeling? What is it that they're trying to accomplish?
For feelings, I would say something between overwhelm and frustration and a little bit of excitement. Those go kind of hand in hand. They have their vision. They've done enough to get past probably the seed stage for a startup. Most of them have found some sort of funding somewhere. They have their general ideas, but it's just not getting off the ground. They're not getting people interested, be it investors or business-to-business relations or consumer. They're not getting website hits. Like, they're just kind of being lost in the noise, like you said earlier. and they don't know how to get out of it. They don't know how to filter everything else around them to be picked off the shelf, so to speak.
Okay, so so let's talk about that. So I've got right here, you're feeling overwhelmed, like you're excited. You've got this funding, you've got this footing, you've got this seeds planted, you're ready, you've got vision, you've got excitement, you're ready to go. You know, you've got this clear vision on where you want to take your business, but it's not getting off the ground. You're not getting the interest that you're looking for. You don't understand the digital space. You're not sure how to take that vision and bring it to the digital space so that people can find you, so that people can see you, so people can do business with you, so that you can stop getting lost in the noise, right? I can help you by creating this roadmap, blah, 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 right? So your story is that in itself, right? That those feelings of that they've got this excitement, like they're this excitement, but then their excitement immediately goes from, oh my gosh, I just got all this funding and I've secured all of these things, to, oh my gosh, now what do I do with it? I'm stuck. I don't know what the next step is. I don't know how to. I've tried. Probably a lot of them have dabbled with things. They might have a website. They might have some kind of social media presence, but none of it's working, right? None of it's working, and they're not gaining that traction. And the big guys, so there's another like story piece. The big guys keep taking your business, but you know that you stand in integrity. You know that what you do is better than what they have. You know you can educate your clients better, but how do you get there? Right? That's what you help them do. Does that resonate? Does that feel like what you want to do?
I think it would add one of the frustrations. That particular type of overwhelm, I'm sure, is seen across the board in every industry. But then you add to it the extra regulations and compliance issues. And I just keep seeing even established businesses, but startups getting there, they spend thousands of dollars on setting up social media, and they're catching the wrong audience. They're catching the 420 stoners that I hung out with in high school, not the moms doing yoga. And then they're getting shut down for breaching whatever terms of use on whatever platform, because they don't know how to navigate around it and get their organic reach and speak to the lifestylers, for lack of other term, without, saying the words.
Okay.
Or medical marijuana.
So right there,
like a backdoor creative solution that needs to be done.
And I think that's a huge frustration to incorporate into that story. Again, the story then is like you're getting shut down. Instagram, these social media platforms don't understand your business. You're not trying to get everybody high as a kite walking around, right? You're trying to educate people, but you don't know how to avoid all of these roadblocks. Every time you turn around, you're hitting a roadblock. You're getting hit with compliance. You're getting hit with, violating terms of use when you've really done nothing wrong. I think that's the big piece too, right there, is that they're really not doing anything wrong. They just don't know how to do it in a way that these social media platforms are going to accept it, right? And then that's where I come in and I can help you avoid getting locked out of your account, having your social media shut down, huge fines for violating terms of use, right? So those are the things that they don't want to deal with. And that's where you come in versus this road mapping session, right? The road mapping session, how you get them there doesn't matter. The story that they want to hear is that you're going to help them get through all of these roadblocks with social media, all of these compliance issues, all of these terms of use, help them to actually bring their excitement to life and talk to the people that they want to be talking to attract that right fit audience, right? Now, I know a lot of people say attracting the right fit audience, but you're going to help them do it in a way that keeps them in integrity, that relates to their specific audience, because you've been there, you understand that, right?
Yeah.
Does that help?
It does, actually, greatly.
So that when you think about all of these things that we've just kind of talked about, if we were going to wrap it up, is that you can be this Jill of all trades, and master at a few. And if you were going to pick the few that you were a master at, it's one, helping them get through the tape, right? Like one of the big things is helping them to understand the digital space and all of the nuances that come with it. And also being able to write in a way that reflects an integrity that keeps them, on the up and up with their clients, that actually speaks to their ideal client, not just like you're saying, the 420, stoners are the ones that just use it because they want to be high on life all the time. I mean, but you actually want to use it for the medicinal properties without, jeopardizing their careers, their families, their livelihood. I think that's the big thing too, is that a lot of people are so afraid of it because they're so afraid it's going to jeopardize what they've built. I mean, is there ways around it? What industries can get around it? What industries can't get around it? My husband's a CDL driver. I don't think he can get around it,
No.
Exactly. So like making sure that they know, right, that they can't, you know what I mean? There are certain industries and you're going to help them to make sure they are serving the right person and that they're getting repeat business and gaining that organic traction to help get them above the big guns, right? Because the big guns are always going to be there.
Yeah.
And if you want to work with the startups, the big guns are always going to be there. But they can stand out above the big guns because the big guns are all saying the same thing. They're talking to the same person. They're saying the same thing. That's not the ideal client for you. Your ideal client wants to speak a different language, right?
That makes sense. Yes, that is completely right.
So when you're thinking about that from now your content perspective, you can use all of those type words again and create this story of people that you can then connect with. You've got all of these different things, like you said, you're catching the wrong audience. You're not sure how to navigate all of these roadblocks. Like right there, that's a story. Like people, the whole point with the story behind this, and you're a writer, but again, it's about like getting people to say, yes, yes, yes. Are you speaking directly to me? Like, yes, this is it. Like, what the freak? I posted this thing on Instagram and next thing I know, I got a terms of use violation or something like that, right? Like you want them going, yes, absolutely. How the hell did you know that just happened to me? That type of thing. And so you're getting lost in the noise. You feel like you're getting frustrated because you're better than those big guns. You know that you offer a better product. You know that you offer better customer service, but you can't get above the noise of them. Again, now your ideal client's going, yes, right? Like that, when you can speak in that way in your content, that helps them to attract you to the right. And then you're not going to get those Joe Blow people that are toxic, right? Because those toxic people just want sales most of the time. They want the cheapest person in the world and they don't have any integrity, right? So using those things in your right here that you also said, if I pull up my notes, that they have these values. Most people that don't, like if they're just in it for the sale, they're not. They're going to be like, yeah, no, she's too touchy-feely for me. I'm not here to do that. Right? Like they do. They immediately they see that. So they're not going to come to you anyways. So by staying like they have an ethical and moral compass, put it right in your story, put it right in your content, because who cares if somebody gets annoyed by it? The reality is you don't want to work with people that don't. So use that.
That makes plenty of sense, and I'm already picturing Roman with this.
And honestly, I mean, it's completely up to you. And I know that you talk about like you being an ex-teacher and the young child and the women and the LGBTQ community and different things. Like that's 100% up to you whether or not some people feel comfortable using it, some people don't. But if it's something that's really important to you, again, speak specifically to that client. Speak specifically to that client that wants that consumer that wants to serve that industry, and use all of that in this story too. You're a mom, you're a teacher, you're a professional. you're worried about CPS. And I know that there's a lot of issues that come up in the LGBTQ community in general with parents, and you know what I mean? Like there's just so much drama that comes up there, and just having that fear of, oh my gosh, am I on the radar all the time?
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely something that is very specific to that position in society, and it does influence things. Can we be out in all aspects authentically, or is it too much of a risk?
And that is a risk.
Call because they don't like us,
right? And that's a risk you take, right? And so that's where I say some people are super comfortable with it, so some people are not. I'm not somebody that's going to say you have to use it or you have to hide from it. I think there's a happy medium there. But if you feel strongly about it, and you feel strongly about the fact that you can help that client and you want to advocate for them, then I say bring it to the table in all your stories.
I think I'm going to. I have a couple ways to do it, so it definitely adds a dimension. I don't know many other parents that have a notarized form saying, the little one goes to a friend until a family member gets down here in case we're incapacitated. It's an emergency thing. Yeah, I don't know many parents that have that ready to go, but we do.
Right. Because exactly. And so, and I think that there is because again, we're talking about dream clients, right? You want those clients that can appreciate you for everything you bring to the table, not just your skills. Right? Because there's a million content marketers out there. There's a million digital marketers out there. You want to attract those that truly value every single thing that you do, that can relate to you on both a personal and professional level, and respect and appreciate that. Not just like, oh, okay, I'm fine with it. No, I want to respect you. I want to value that you bring that to the table, because that's a value add to me.
Yeah, I like that. That's very helpful.
Do you have any other questions?
I don't. Just a lot of ideas that are ready to go once this camera's off.
All right. Well, let's turn the camera off so you can dive in. I can take pictures of my notes, but yeah, you'll have the replay will be there too if you want to watch it. But yeah, if anybody watching has any questions, I'd love some feedback. If you felt like going through this process was helpful, I'm happy to continue with the hot seat coaching in this way, because I do think one of the biggest problems, or one of the biggest struggles for what I'm seeing with most of you in getting to fully booked, is really being able to, again, help yourself stand out above the noise, help yourself create and attract and connect with the ideal audience beyond I work with solopreneurs and freelancers to help them get fully booked. No, okay, that's a great I help statement, but there's such a deeper level to that. When you can tell that story, like I said, even with my client, was, she came to me, she had all these ideas, she had over 40 different services and products. Like, oh my God, like I'm charging something different to everybody, right? Like when you can tell a story, how many people like, yeah, me too. Like none of my clients are on the same package. Everybody just gets a price based on whatever mood I'm in that day, right? Like the story is there, and it connects differently. So hopefully this was helpful. I'd love to hear your comments, Sarah. I can't wait to see what you come up with. Please share it with us or me, or whatever you feel comfortable with when you get done. But I'm going to let you go so you can get to work.
Oh, I totally will.
All right. Awesome. Take care, guys. Talk to you soon. Bye.